welcome to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Happy Friday to you, and today coming up is a news roundup in the world of FCB, and we are going to be discussing the Copa del Rey, the draw that happened yesterday, and exactly where that cup stands this season in terms of our priorities. Are we going to go out and win it, and what is the best approach to really maximise our potential across all competitions? We are going to be discussing the future of Denis Suárez, our pursuits of the Ajax duo Matthijs de Ligt and Frenkie de Jong, and also we are going to have an update on the recovery of Umtiti. All of that and a bit more. It's coming right up. Let's do this. But before all of that kicks off, I want to address first of all a transfer rumour which came out earlier on this week from Rack 1, which was regarding Alvaro Morata of Chelsea being offered to FC Barcelona. And I just want to say on that, many players from many different clubs right across the whole season, they are offered continually to other clubs. This is not a big deal. I'm sure that Chelsea are offering around Morata right now. They're probably offering him to anybody who will take him because he has been woefully bad in the Premier League for Chelsea right now and is continuing to struggle this season. He's ex-Real Madrid, he's woefully out of form, he was very expensive for Chelsea, and I just think right now it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to sign this guy from Chelsea. Jordi Alba came out early on this week as well. He said that everybody would be happy, he'd be welcomed if he moved to Barcelona, but that was simply Jordi Alba being polite about a Spanish international and probably a teammate and a friend in the national team. I don't see anything whatsoever with regard to this Morata deal. Rack 1 say that he's been offered, and that may be the case, but I don't think he's coming. But we will start here with the Copa del Rey and the ties that were drawn yesterday for the round of 16 games, and we have been drawn, as you can see here, against Levante. We're going to play them away first of all, and then we're going to play them at home, and those games are going to take place at the very start of January, which, as you know, is the Copa del Rey month. There's a lot of games in the Copa played in January. Every single round, of course, is a two-legged tie. There are a lot of games. Levante against Barça is going to be the 9th of January, with Barça against Levante, the second leg at home, coming on the 16th. And as you can see here, the games right across the board, there are some quite good ones here. Real Madrid against Leganes, of course, history between those two in the Copa del Rey, Leganes knocking them out not so long ago. Real Betis will take on Real Sociedad, with Athletic coming up against Sevilla there. Gijón will take on Valencia. Girona against Atletico Madrid should be a really fascinating tie overall, and Villarreal will take on our city rivals Espanyol. So that's the Copa del Rey there. But what I want to talk about here is what kind of approach should we have this season with regards to the Copa del Rey. Now, we know that in the Copa we've got a very good record. We like to go out. It's a competition that we've been really successful in. We are the most successful team in the history of the Copa del Rey. We went 4 years in a row. But at the same time, those two-legged ties right the way through January, if you're playing your best team week in, week out, those kind of extra games, they can take its toll if you're really fielding your key players over and over again. And with more important competitions, you think of the Champions League and of course the league campaign, I can't help feel like this season, particularly the kind of emphasis we're putting on winning the Champions League, do we really want to give the Copa that real big importance and a big priority in our season? We should try and win every game. We'll try and win the Copa del Rey. Of course we will. We're going to apply ourselves. That's what the best clubs in the world do. They don't just set out one or two ambitions. They want to win everything. But at the same time, I do feel like we should be resting our key players as much as we possibly can to really maximise our quality in those big Champions League games. We want to win the Champions League and we want to win the league. Those two trophies are our priorities. The Copa del Rey is still an important competition, but at the same time, we've got to rotate, I feel. And in doing that, what you can do then, you can bring in some fringe players, those players who don't get an awful lot of minutes in the league and the Champions League, and more importantly, give some Barcelona B players, those younger talents, some really important and hugely beneficial minutes on the field against La Liga teams in the Copa del Rey. And in doing that, I think you really do enhance your chances in the Champions League, in the league campaign, and you also give really good minutes elsewhere as well, and just see how far we can go. And I think you guys very much share that opinion. I put a poll out yesterday asking you really what sort of approach we should have this season. A lot of people thinking that in some way or another we've got to rotate, whether it be a little bit of rotation, moderate rotation here you can see is very much favoured by you guys. You'd be happy to field a sort of half-strength side in order of playing some of those younger guys, some of those fringe guys, and just giving the likes of Messi, players like that, if needed, a bit of rest when we really do need it. In these big months after Christmas that are coming up, we do have bigger priorities this season. But now we move on to the future of Denis Suárez, which I have to say is looking more and more likely to be away from Barcelona in the very near future, and particularly looking ahead to that January transfer window. He's seen his first team opportunities really limited this season, and I think right now he is looking very likely to leave in the coming window in the next few weeks or so, because I think over the last few weeks of Denis Suárez, we've seen that frustration from him grow, and not only internally as well. He started talking, he started showing that frustration out on the pitch. He spoke especially after scoring twice in the Copa del Rey against Cultural Leonesa, and he actually admitted he's not getting the minutes that he wanted, he's not getting the playing time that he'd hoped for, and he almost straight up challenged Valverde to actually play him more often, playing in bigger games, and that really hasn't happened this season. And according to Rack 1, there is now an 80% chance, it is looking more and more likely by the day, that Denis Suárez will be leaving the club in January, with Chelsea, as of right now, showing some really genuine interest, which does add up. It does make sense given that Mauricio Sarri, the Chelsea coach, did try to sign him while he's with Napoli just a few months ago. Rack 1 do still say there's interest from Napoli on the table. There's Arsenal as well. He's been offered to a few teams in the Premier League, with Milan, Valencia and Sevilla also showing some interest. So if Denis Suárez does want to call time on his Barcelona career, he'll do so still being young enough to go out there and prove himself, and he's still got the talent, of course, to take his game to the next level with more game time. But I just don't think right now it's going to happen at Barcelona, and Sport 2 have come out today and said Valencia have made their interest known and that a deal for both parties could be in the works as soon as January. It's looking more and more likely Denis is going to depart. But now on to some potential incomings, not in January, but also in the summer. It's looking more and more likely. Mundo Deportivo this morning with Matthijs Ligt and Frenkie de Jong both on the cover, and MD say that a deal to bring both players to the Camp Nou is still very much on the cards, with nothing ruled out and no setbacks as of right now. They do concede that it would be a very expensive operation to sign both Ligt and de Jong from Ajax, but they do say that both players want to join. They're waiting for Barcelona's offer. They want to see what's going to happen with their future, and it is their preference to join us, come to La Liga and play for Barcelona, which in itself is very encouraging news if it's true. Sport, meanwhile, they've also put de Jong and De Ligt on their cover this morning. A coincidence in many ways they choose to talk about them on the same day as Mundo Deportivo, but they also say that a deal for Frenkie de Jong is very much on track right now, which is actually on the contrary of what we heard over the last few days. A few days ago we heard that Frenkie de Jong could actually be heading to Paris Saint-Germain. Sources said that de Jong had already agreed a deal to go there, and then it was going to be a big fee from Paris to take him to the French capital. But since those reports, Frenkie de Jong himself has actually denied that. He said nothing has been agreed yet. I've not agreed to join PSG by any stretch of the imagination, and his future, I think, is still very much in the balance. There's Man City who are very interested, but according to Sport, Man City actually are not the front runners right now, simply because Frenkie de Jong is a bit hesitant about heading to the Premier League. He's not sure the Premier League is going to suit his style of play. He believes that he'll be much more suited in La Liga, and in particular with Barcelona, and that's one thing that we really have with regard to de Jong, and possibly Matthijs de Ligt too. Sport reiterate that de Jong's preference has always been Barcelona. He's always wanted to play for Barcelona. He grew up supporting us, he grew up following us, watching our players, idolising our players, and I think that right now that's what we're hanging on to. We believe that Frenkie de Jong's preference is Barcelona, and we're going to really play on that when we negotiate with Ajax next summer. But with regard to De Ligt, Sport are actually a lot less positive than Mundo Deportivo are right now. They say actually with De Ligt, things have gone backwards, and that Juventus are currently in pole position because they have prepared an astronomical offer for the young centre-back, which will be very difficult to match. That is what Sport say this morning. So we're going to have to wait and see whether that develops into anything more concrete in the coming weeks and months, when we're going to hear a lot more about these two, and a lot more rumours are going to happen in that time. But just finally, guys, I want to bring you some news with regards to Samuel Umtiti, because I know a lot of us sort of wondering what's going on with Umtiti right now. Obviously, we've got Clement Longley, we've got Gerard Piqué, and it's very good to see Thomas Vermaelen back now with the squad and fully fit. But at the same time, Umtiti is a really key player for us. We want him back as soon as possible. So exactly how is he doing right now with his recovery from injury? And I can tell you that obviously Umtiti has travelled to Qatar. He's in Doha right now. He's doing very specific treatment on that knee injury. Very specific work work with individuals out there who are highly qualified for this kind of treatment, and both he and Barcelona have been given until next week. They're going to decide next week whether or not he will go through that surgery. He'll go to the operating theatre and he will get operated on. They're going to give it another week. They're going to see how it heals. They're going to see how his recovery is. If they believe that he can come back without having surgery, he might try and do that again. But I think right now, even with that recovery work, surgery is looking like an option. We're going to decide next week, and that is going to be a big week. If they go through with it, Umtiti out for several months and more or less will miss the rest of the season. So we're going to have to watch this space and see what happens with regard to Umtiti and exactly when we can expect him back. So basically, that is all right now on the Barcelona news front. Obviously, we've got a big game coming up this weekend in La Liga against our Copa del Rey opponents, Levante. That is going to be coming up on Sunday. And of course, tomorrow I'll have that preview up with you guys and get involved in the voting later on tonight with regard to your predictions. I will see you then for more videos. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Enjoy your weekend. But until then, as always, Vesca El Barça.